Amazon.com shopper, you can help Southgate Media Group out by visiting southgatemediagroup.com. There you'll find a link to log into your Amazon account, and a % of your purchase will go to help support all the shows on Southgate Media Group. We also offer Patreon if you prefer that way, and any way you can help, we appreciate. Now, thank you, and enjoy the show.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird! It's a plane!
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to
the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Welcome to the Krypton Report. I am your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow. And with me is the Superman of Red, the Man of Steel himself, Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
Hey, Tyler. How's it going?
Going pretty good, man. Going pretty good. We're going to hop on in here. Got a lot to cover, and so we're just going to kind of jump in with some news, and we'll kind of go from there. Let's see here. My news keeping is not loading. Here we go. So, have you been keeping up with your CW series?
Superman and Lois, unfortunately.
Well, so here's what we got going down, okay? On the CW, I guess they're going to do what they had talked about before, and they're recasting Kate Kane. But now it's going to be played by Krypton's Wallace Day, who played Nyssa Vex.
Yeah.
Which is what people asked for.
I knew about that.
First place, was one of the biggest, hey, cast hers that happened when Ruby Rose first left. So they're going to do this. And yet...
It was cool because, before I'd ever seen it around, that's who I cast. I told you guys that she should be Kate Kane if they were going to recast her because, little bit reminiscent of Ruby Rose, but she looks more like she could be a twin with the lady who plays Alice as opposed to Ruby Rose did.
Yeah, and I thought that was a great casting choice. I enjoyed what she brought when she did Krypton. So it seemed like it would work, and now it's so they're going to do this.
Which I actually just got my Blu-ray series. I got the complete series on Blu-ray today delivered.
Nice.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. That was just because at the time, I didn't have access to it. I own that. That's one of the few series that I was unable to watch live, but I bought through iTunes. So I had it to watch, the day after it aired. I have the first season. Jania found the first season on DVD for me at a half-price books for $4. So she bought it for me. Yeah,
nice.
Of course, that's awesome. I love my physical media. I need to buy season 2. It's on I have a whole wish list on Amazon. It's just easier to keep it that way of DC TV series to buy. And usually I buy a lot on Black Friday weekend because they put them on sale for $10.
Yeah. Well, I ordered that. I have the Blu-ray of the entire series of Krypton, both seasons, which I was really excited. And then when I ordered that, right on the bottom, swear to God, it was $9 or $11, one of the two. I can't remember exact. That's all it was. And I got I got Swamp Thing on Blu-ray.
Nice. Yeah, I have Swamp Thing, and I have Swamp Thing. Okay, ready for this? And Brian's borrowing it because he didn't finish watching it when it was on. And then he's all like, well, I don't want to watch the CW because they edited it out. I'm like, well, should have watched it the whole time you had it on, on DC Universe.
That whole year you had it on DC Universe.
I'm like, what were you watching, man? Yeah,
absolutely.
All there is comics, bro. That's all there is. There's nothing else to life. He's probably I'm gonna punch that dude in the face.
I'm about for Batwoman, I think we're maybe 3 episodes behind on Batwoman now. I think the last one we watched was episode 4 or 5. I think 4.
Well, Janine and I caught up the other night because we were up doing like odds and ends stuff, and we had it playing in the background to kind of catch up to. And it's like one of those shows like we tell it's like you're so close to being good, but yet you do these things or make these choices. You're just kind of like, what are you choosing to do here? It's so weird. Excuse me. It's late, and I have children that are young. James has children that are a little bit more self-sufficient. So.
Yes. So I am not permanently exhausted. I have made it past that point. But now I'm too old to.
Now we're too old to enjoy it.
Exactly.
But I'm so baffled they're going to do this weird story with like a different Kate, or she's going to be alive, and yet Ryan's still going to be Batwoman. I just like that's really confusing. You know, like just kill off Kate. It's that simple. But we'll see. You know, we'll see how it goes. It's weird. Let's see. Also in Batwoman, this Sunday night's supposed to be the mid-season, and they're going to introduce Black Mask. We got our look at Black Mask. The actor is Peter Outerbridge will be Black Mask in Batwoman season 2. He looks pretty cool as Black Mask. I'm not gonna lie. So that's pretty exciting.
The mask looked pretty cool. I haven't seen like a real close up of the mask, but I mean I can tell it's a black skull mask, so it doesn't look horrible.
Let's see what other. Oh, here's some fun information. Ron. So jumping over. Okay, we're gonna. No wait. You know what? Never mind. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what, James? How about you run the podcast? I'm going to bed. Staying on task.
You didn't send me the outline first.
Dang it. Tyler. Staying on the CW, we got our trailer for season 6 of Supergirl. Looks pretty sweet. Lex Luthor has like kryptonite powers or something. Like he's burned the House of L symbol and shooting out green. It was a nice little sizzle trailer for Supergirl's return. It's sad. This is the last season. I think my biggest sorrow with Supergirl is like you diverge so much in different ways. I feel like you carved out your own identity. At the same time, it's after a while, it's like you didn't keep your show fresh. It's weird. Like I don't know. It's weird that like Supergirl's ending because like this show was started when they announced Supergirl and Krypton. You know, this podcast was started as, you know, like, oh, I'll just be the Supergirl commentary podcast, but then they had Krypton on the horizon, and then we were able to make it so much more than, you know, that initial idea. And now here it is, it's ending, Krypton's ended, but, you know, luckily we have Superman and Lois, and there's always Superman something to keep us going, you know, but that fresh newness.
Yeah.
So it's like a bittersweet kind of thing, you know?
It is. You know, Supergirl's been pretty good for the most part. Like you said, they kind of they didn't step out of their comfort zone very much. So the series does a lot of it seems the same. You know, I mean the way they tackled issues and the way that they resolved the problems, things like that, is a pretty good show during its run. I'm just glad that they know season 6 is the final season, and they're gonna hopefully be able to write a satisfying conclusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like with it being like, it's kind of how as I'm watching Black Lightning, I got caught up today, and you know, I think Black Lightning just took us mid-season, I think, because there's a gap until mid-April for it, and I'm just kind of like, you know, this is the end. Like, let's go out on top, you know. I just feel like that's all we can hope for right now with some of these shows.
Yeah, season 6. Your final season. Let's try and swing for the fences a little bit. They do. They do have a way of doing things, but we have a great Lex Luthor. Good Lena Luthor. We've got a really good cast who is able to do some good things. Let's write them some good stuff so they can really show appreciation for their entirety of working on the show.
Agreed. And then, let's see. Now we're going to kind of travel over to the comic side. They announced we got some artwork for Superman and the Authority. Did you see this?
I think I saw a cover image or something. Is about all I seen. An image of a Superman in what looks to be almost a Kingdom Come T-shirt.
Right. Very interesting. And Phil asked me. He's like, "Do I think that they're going to put John as Superman in Superman and in Action, and then move Clark over to this book?" And I was like, "Well, if they keep it like in continuity, then yeah, that would make sense." Because I feel like they're still kind of doing that 5G thing they talked about, but they just kind of rebranded it and are retweaking it, into what we have now. Since we're now in the DC Infinite Frontier, it's just so crazy. Like, it just feels like the other day it was, DC Rebirth, then the DC Universe. Now we're in the Infinite Frontier.
Yeah. Their rebrandings and things like that.
Constantly. It feels like it's it just feels like nothing stays anymore. I mean, Barry Allen was dead for how long in comics? Now you can barely keep a character dead for a year or two.
Right. I mean, at least, I don't know. I kind of like how they've gone from what the New 52 was, and they really grew, expanded DC, kind of gave us something new, and for the most part, as it is in comics, like organically brought us to where we are.
Yeah.
Being able to tell a lot of different stories. Which have you one story that was really good? Probably the standout book I've read so far. I haven't read every single thing that's come out yet since Infinite Frontier began, but one of the best stories I read so far was Crime Syndicate #1. Did you read that?
No, I have not. I picked up my pull to get caught back up, and I've been working on getting caught back up and getting my reading in place.
I spoke to I was talking to my comic shop guy, and he was, and I told him, he's like, "Oh, I didn't even see that. That it's kind of a mirror representation of the first story that the Justice League ever had. Their villain was in that.
Sorrow.
Exactly. And it's like a mirror version of that on Earth 3.
Okay. All right. I mean, it definitely looked interesting, and it's just getting around to actually getting to read everything that I want to read. That's been part of the hardest part. So.
All right. It's probably been one of the more interesting stories that's come out so far.
Now we're going to jump over to the live-action film side of DC here. The director of the film Promising Young Woman, which I rented, and Jania really wanted to see it. We were going to watch it, but then the kid kept bugging us and we didn't get to, but we will watch it, has been tapped to write and I think maybe direct the Zatanna movie, which will be, it's supposed to be an HBO Max film. Her name is Emerald Fennell. So, all right, cool. You know, like, it's got some motion behind it. You know, Zatanna's a character I've definitely been, championing for a long time. I think, first of all, she's an awesome character. Second of all, it opens up that magic side of DC that we've barely even touched. With Constantine we had, and two characters I think that were extremely easy to bring into the Arrowverse. They never did was The Question and Zatanna, and they never did. And what's sad is I feel like in a lot of breaths, the Arrowverse is kind of on its way out.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that, I don't know, maybe it's just the way of the world, but it just doesn't seem that has the agency that it used to.
It seems like after Crisis and everything, it just kind of, like we built it up, for Crisis, and then we were all excited, and then, the crossovers are gone, Arrow's gone now, we're going to lose Black Lightning and Supergirl. Batwoman has not even referenced anything because our Batwoman doesn't know anybody. Superman, Lois, part of me is wondering, okay, if Superman and Lois maybe takes place a little bit more in the future as far as maybe it takes place after the events of Supergirl season 6. Like, I'm kind of wondering if maybe there'll be like some reference or something, with, because I'll be very upset if there's not some sort of dialogue crossover between the two shows at some point. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of been on my brain a little bit. And, Stargirl's still strong, but that's still technically on the new Earth too, so she's yet to come crossover. Flash is on the uptick, because technically as of this week they started their official season 8, is how I'm calling it. So we have that, but it just feels like a lot of that power that was there is just kind of fizzled. None of the new shows really seem like they're going to be that strong as far as bringing things together. But we'll see. I'm saying we could be just in that weird second phase type thing. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But back to the films here. In I don't want to say surprising move, but I guess this will work, but I'm still really bummed, is Ron Livingston has been cast to be Henry Allen for the Flash movie to replace Billy Crudup. He's a good actor. When I think of him, the first thing I think of course, is Office Space. And then the second thing I think of is The Conjuring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, good actor. I think Billy Crudup is just better.
Yes.
And him and Ezra had some good chemistry through the glass. I like their interactions. So it's sad to see him get replaced. Especially if it's just because of scheduling. So,
they've also cast.
I'm not gonna hate on it. It's just sad to see it change.
Yeah, I mean it's life. It's what happens,
Yeah.
2 other actors have been cast in undisclosed roles for the Flash film. Sarosa Monica Jackson and internet personality Rudy Mancuso are in undisclosed roles for the Flash movie, as well as they cast a young version of Barry. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's cool. I think, not to dive too much into and go down this road, we saw a better version of Barry in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I think we get an even better version of his own movie with Andy directing and kind of steering away from more of that annoying, hyper comical that people have had problems with, where it almost feels more Wally than Barry. So I'm optimistic. I'm always optimistic. Hey, I'm always the one who's championing things and always hoping for the best for my DC characters. So we'll see. We'll see.
No, I agree. He was much better in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Ezra has always wanted to continue his Barry down that road, not the road he was pushed down for the theatrical release.
Exactly. Nobody really wanted that. And then surprising, Black Adam, the film, has cast Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. Now, I'm wondering if he's like Kent Nelson, or if he's the voice of Dr.
Naboo.
Yeah, of Naboo.
Or Dr. Fate, in the helmet.
So, like, if he's Kent Nelson putting on the helmet, or what. But hey, that's cool. And then the other one that got me is Shazam, Fury of the Gods, has cast this legendary actress to play villain Hespera, a daughter of Atlas. And the villains for this Shazam are going to be based off kind of the three sisters. And it's Helen Mirren was going to be in Shazam too.
Yeah, that's exciting. Helen, like you said, legendary actress.
She's one of those actresses that's just awesome. Period.
Oh yeah, she doesn't. It's hard to say. She doesn't even have to do anything. I mean, she could be. She could be one of those people. She brings it all the time, and she's just that good. It seems effortless.
And then today, as of this recording, we were gifted with a slew of posters for The Suicide Squad and also a trailer. And I like the trailer. I mean, it looks fun. It looks cool because it's a sequel yet reboot-ish, from Suicide Squad. We got 4 people back. My only thing is, I want something that connects where Harley was in Birds of Prey to how she got to the Suicide Squad. Did you think it was going to be rated R?
Yeah.
Like, after this trailer, I know it's rated R. But before this, did you think it was rated R?
Well, I assumed as much. The Suicide Squad is ripe for that.
It is.
James Gunn is ripe for that as well. More of his work is than isn't. And just from that, but they said that it was going to be an R.
See, that was my thing.
I think somebody even said hard R at some point, which after this trailer, you can tell it's going to be a hard R film.
And my concern is always the same thing. Like, you're putting Harley Quinn in another R movie. Harley Quinn sells to children. It's crazy to say that, but she does.
She's just a fun character, There's so many ways that Harley can be such a fun character for children.
Yeah.
As they get older, they can learn to understand where she came from and the complexities of her character through all the psychological aspects that make up her character. But she's really easy to be able to make for children, and then she's really easy because of where she came from, and her boyfriend, the Joker. I mean, to see Harley be a hard R character as well.
Yeah.
She's a very versatile character. In her short time, she has already she's branched gaps with different iterations of her character, from being the child friendly that your toddler could watch to being this hard R, foul mouth character, murderous character, you know?
Exactly. So let's just kind of talk, high points for the trailer. One, we saw King Shark eat somebody and tear somebody in half.
I like it. You started with that.
Because that was the one that I was like, Ed, yeah, that's for sure going to be rated R.
Oh, especially after he ripped him in half. I mean, I was like, people are going to get shot. People are going to die. People will probably get their heads blown up. I was like, I know King Shark's going to be there. He's going to at least bite somebody.
Yep.
But after they showed him, like, swallowing the guy whole and then ripping a person, like, literally in half, like head, head to groin with his bare hands, yeah, absolutely.
And then we found out he's going to be voiced by Sylvester Stallone. And I was like, okay. Definitely, like, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's not how I picture King Shark.
Well, I think people, and only recently now, expect King Shark to be this Ron Funches comedic character. You know what I mean? People see one version and they get stuck to it. We know that all too well.
But, I mean, my thing is just Sylvester Stallone just has that, like, you hear it, you're like, oh, that's Sylvester Stallone. You know?
Right.
It's not like an Alan Tudyk where, like, the dude's in everything and you don't even know it's him. Like,
well, you know what? They subverted so hard. I mean, they've got Aggie, Steve Aggie for the motion capture.
mm-hmm.
And people were like, well, is he going to be the voice too? And then they got Taika, and they're like, oh, Taika does voices. Taika's going to be him. All because they're picturing King Shark in this movie to be Ron Funches from the Harley Quinn show.
Which is the best.
I mean, yeah, he's absolutely hilarious. And works perfectly for that show. But yeah, just the way everybody gets hooked automatically onto one iteration, and that's the only thing they can see. It's the only thing they know. And yeah, but so it's definitely it's interesting. You know, we heard that Sylvester was going to be in it as well. They didn't give a casting for him.
My thing is, this is definitely going to be like, I feel like this is kind of, this is going to come out so many times. I just don't want to see this film be Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, it's like, everyone compared Suicide Squad in the first place to Guardians of the Galaxy, and now we have the guy that made Guardians of the Galaxy making the Suicide Squad. So it's like, I don't want this to be that, but then at the same time, by making it rated R, it's now more like James Gunn Unleashed, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I don't want it to be Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't want. We're gonna like the characters because that's how they're gonna make them appealing. But as much as I want them to be appealing, I want them to turn around and do something completely dirty and be like, oh well, like wow, like F that guy.
I'm bummed that Katana's not back in some way. Like maybe she'll make a cameo. Who knows? Because that was like she was a good guy character. You know what I'm saying? That was part of the team, but wasn't actually on the squad. My prediction, like I told you, is I think we're going to get this really cool opening scene, and it's going to be like Harley with Boomerang, Javelin Man, Mongal, Savant.
Yeah, that
Weasel.
one team we saw early. Yeah, because we saw like two specific teams.
I think we're going
in
to
this trailer,
and I think they're just going to get killed. Blackguard and whoever Nathan Fillion is playing. I think they're just going to get killed like in the first 10 minutes in like a very over the top, like exaggerated comical way, and then the others go in to get Harley, and then that's the team we're with for the film. Because I just feel like that would be something James Gunn would do. Like, he gets all of his friends to play these crazy characters because they're just gonna get killed off, in a very fun way at the beginning. So,
absolutely.
The other thing is, dude, I'm looking forward to John Cena in this movie, just from that one interaction between him and Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Go watch
the leader. You're supposed to be more decisive. I decide you should go eat a bag of dicks. Of course, though, they would put a dick joke in there.
I mean, and then of course he's like, if the beach was full of dicks and I had to eat every one of them for liberty, I would do it. Like,
no problemo. I would say no problemo.
I was laughing so hard, and Jania looks at me like, "What?" I'm like, because I'm watching it on my phone. I'm like, I can't pull this up. It's red band. I don't want the kids because Solomon's all like, "Ooh, King Shark, I want to see," and Sayla's like, "Harley," and I'm like, "F."
You cannot watch this movie.
So I had to.
I probably won't even let my kids watch this.
So I had to download the trailer, edit real quick, and then let them watch the Tyler edited version.
Oh man. So, dude, you're going to have to edit the crap out of that movie if you try to let them watch it.
I made a family-friendly version of Deadpool for Luca to watch, and then Solomon. I mean, I edited a version of Birds of Prey for Sailor to watch just to see Harley. But no, like, and then the biggest...
Deadpool, definitely. Birds of Prey, that's not too bad, but... Definitely.
Well, I mean,
Deadpool,
Black Mask, and Zaz,
yeah, face peeling and some language, and yeah.
And then we get the jaw-dropping moment of the trailer. Starro. Like the guy says, "We have a kaiju," and it pans, and we see like security footage of Starro. And I was just like, what? So, yeah, I mean, they're going to go big. I mean, it's kind of crazy because, one of our biggest complaints with Suicide Squad was just that the team is like the Dirty Dozen and more ground level, and then they were fighting Enchantress. And everyone on the team, I think it's hilarious because when you watch that movie and the way Waller talks about them, having these metahumans and people who can fight against the next Superman. I'm like, the only person in that team who was a metahuman was Diablo. And then you can argue Killer Croc or not, but it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, no.
And of course,
that was too big. I mean, Starro's a big threat too, but it's still a creature. It's still a living thing that they could have some semblance of with creativity to take down, to stop it.
Yeah. And then Boomerang, of course, he's in that opening from that team, so we might actually lose Captain Boomerang pretty quickly as like that character of, oh, look, even if you're returning, you're not safe. Here's the one you knew. He's dead.
Yeah, right. Which will be disappointing if that happens.
Yeah, because I like Boomerang, and I feel like under Gunn, I feel like under Gunn we'd get an even better Boomerang.
Yeah, he'd be pure trash.
All right. So last thing before we jump into this week's Superman and Lois, let me pose a question at you. I've been thinking about. It has been a week since we had Zack Snyder's Justice League. Is there anything that you liked about the theatrical that's not in Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Oh, anything that I liked, anything that's a standout. Think. No. Nothing that I'm like missing that wasn't there. Because I just feel that the characterizations were better, that there wasn't forced internal conflict. Everybody had their own internal conflict that they didn't force it into the team, you know? I mean, I was thinking about it, and I mean, not only did Joss recycle the Barry falling on Wonder Woman from Age of Ultron.
Well, I mean, I'm not
recycled
saying like the movie. I'm just saying like there's any parts like there's like little things like I liked in that. You know, I was just thinking like there's some of the music tracks that I like from Elfman's score. One being the home track music I liked, and then like the main theme I liked. I do miss the Aquaman dressed like a bat. I dig it. You know, like I do miss that wasn't in this. I miss some like, you know, the line where Bruce says he was more human than I am. You know, to Alfred. Like I like that line. You know, I missed just something about the theatrical like that I liked is I like stuff. I like a lot of Superman's attitude when he came back. You know, in this one he's very quiet. And I think part of that's because it was supposed to lead into the next film. You know, with him coming back, helping the League out, and then we get the character development next. And since like this is where this ends, I kind of hate that we didn't get any like much from him.
So he was on screen about the same amount of time, as in both versions. It's just kind of like what they gave him. They gave him a couple of lines to say, as opposed to visiting Alfred and getting the suit and flying. You know what I mean? Like there was a couple of lines they gave him.
Because I like where he goes, where Cyborg yells Superman, and he like, you know, it's the Superman part. Like it's kind of in there, like where he jumps up to help him push apart the mother boxes. But it's like I like when he's like, "Can you blow back?" And Cyborg's like, "A little bit, but I think we can take it." And he's like, "Good. I like being alive." And Cyborg's like, "So do I." You know?
Yeah.
Like I like that little interaction.
That was a clever interaction. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Just little things like that I kind of just like that moment of there's like Superman interacting with him. You know, Superman, like even like thinking about in context, like Superman interacting with Barry when he like flies up next to him. If Barry had actually been doing something in that point that had an actual point to it, you know, because you know you have that line of Barry like Superman was my hero, and then the next thing you know he's fighting Superman. So it would have been nice if we would have got a moment between Superman and Barry.
Yeah, he doesn't get any moments with anybody. I mean, in the theatrical one, that's the only moment he got was between anybody was with Barry.
Was the one with Cyborg, you know, like with the blowback.
Okay, so he did get a small interaction with Cyborg, a small interaction with Barry, and a small interaction with Bruce.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the you know, where he's like, I didn't know you.
Why?
Superman's line's not bad. It was like, well, you didn't bring me back because you like me. And Batman's like, I can deal without that. You know?
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's just things I was thinking about, just positive, like little things. Because I mean, I even like the way that Superman comes in, you know, with the I believe in truth. I'm also a big just and he punches Cyborg. I mean, not Cyborg, Steppenwolf. After Steppenwolf ripped Cyborg in half.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it's kind of cheesy, but I liked it. You know what I'm saying? The whole not impressed is awesome too. You know what I'm saying? Because there was more tension when he showed up, with that part. Because even Solomon's like, oh man, what's gonna happen? And there's Superman. He's like, yeah.
Awesome.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just little things, and I think, like I said, I don't think Elfman's score really worked for that film, but just listen to those tracks. It's just music. I like them. Like even the Flash's kind of music. I think it's nice, and it's also kind of.
I've never listened to it outside of the film, and I've said before I'm not really a big fan of it in the film either. So
it's weird in the film. I feel like the music. It's like one of those like, this is good music, this is good imagery. But this music doesn't match this imagery.
Right.
Especially with the texture you've already created in other films. And that being BVS, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, all these big, bombastic, hard scores, and then you come into this and it's more soft and classical.
Right.
And speaking of scores, I learned that some of the music that Junkie XL had written for Justice League originally does not appear in this movie, because he ended up using it in other movies or retooling it for other movies he had to score, because he had all this music flying around that he had worked on.
Yeah, since he was replaced.
Which kind of sucks, because then it makes it like it still does not, the complete score of that we would have gotten. But just, like I said, things to think about. So now we can move on, and we turn the page to Superman and Lois, the best of Smallville. And sadly, this is the last episode we get for too long. I mean,
May 18th?
Yeah, I mean, this is
that when it's coming back?
I'm just saying it's crap. I mean,
it is crap. Absolutely.
It's pure crap, because you have a show doing great. Instead of, I don't know even know what comes on Sunday with Batwoman. Like, is it Charmed?
I think.
Go back.
I haven't watched Batwoman live all season, so.
I haven't either. Go back to your Sunday girl power night or whatever, and maybe because Superman and Lois is such a big hit or something, that they're like, we need to spread this out. or they're just trying to give Supergirl, the Flash lead in because it's its final season, and they want it to have higher ratings or something on its way out. I don't know. All I know is I'm pretty bummed that Superman and Lois is going to be on this huge hiatus.
Me as well. It's going to be a long time before we get it back, and it's been great so far. I'm going to be looking forward to it when it returns, but I guess if it's going off, I guess I'm happy that we're getting another Kryptonian in its place.
And it's sad that we now have a Superman TV series with a really good Superman. Like, I'm more and more, I am loving Tyler as Clark and Superman. I think the show's a balancing act. Like, this episode is definitely more Clark, which I'm fine with. I don't have a problem with that. Just give me an episode that's a little bit more Superman heavy. And I think that's coming. But we also have a series that's on right now with a great Lex Luthor. And we know that this Lex matches with this Clark, but we have yet to get to see them to really interact with each other. They were like teased at each other.
Yeah, he's not the Lex of this Earth.
Huh? What do you mean?
He's not the Lex of that Earth. He's not the Lex that Tyler's Clark knows.
What about John Cryer?
Oh, I'm sorry. I knew you were talking about John Cryer, and then I was like the one he's against right now.
Yeah. Sorry.
Apparently, I moved forward too fast.
Yeah, you're in my next step. What I was gonna say is,
Yeah.
what I was saying is, we have John Cryer over on Supergirl, who's supposed to be Tyler's Lex Luthor, and they kind of like had this like stare off in Crisis, but they're not together. The Luthor we're getting is from a pre-Crisis Earth, I guess. Is what we were told. But that's gonna be the Luthor that Clark's up against.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but.
And more and more, this Lex is very compelling because of what we learn in this episode. And I'm not going to give all that away. Jumping all the way to the friggin' end, but just he's not a villain, per se. Like he was what seems to be a good guy where he came from. So
yeah, I mean, we'll get into that. So
yeah,
are you ready
we'll get there.
to discuss Superman and Lois? The best of Smallville?
I think I'm ready. I think I'm trying to jump in before we get started.
James is like, Tyler, shut up and just let me talk. I am now the person that everyone wants to hear talk. All right, James, take over. Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. All right. So, a summary. As Smallville celebrates its first harvest festival since Martha's passing, Clark is reminded what his mother meant to him and learns a lesson that will help him move past her death. Meanwhile, Lois makes a breakthrough in the investigation of Morgan Edge. Kyle tries to reconnect with Lana, but it seems like he might be falling back into his old ways. And meanwhile, Jonathan and Jordan both take steps forward in their lives. So this episode, I really liked this episode. Now, how many times did you watch it?
I've seen it twice.
Okay. I didn't notice this as an extended episode unless I missed a scene. I watched it live, and then I watched my digital purchase. I didn't see any additional scenes. Did you notice anything?
No, I watched it live as well, and nothing stood out to me this time around.
Yeah, so I don't know if there was anything in this one or not. Or if it was so small that we blinked and we missed it. Because that could happen.
Yeah. Like I said, there was nothing that stood out to me as an extended scene, a missing scene.
So this episode actually is structured different as well. When it opens, we have narration by Clark. And we see Superman in action on the TV. We find out there's been a lot of Superman action in around Metropolis. And we see him, gathering corn on the farm.
Yeah.
And we have Clark talking about fall and his favorite time to be in Smallville. And it was really cool because I like the narration. I like it from Clark's point of view. This was the episode that I thought, and I kind of feared that my theory about Clark, kind of having the moment where he realizes Smallville isn't his Smallville anymore. I was like, man, it's going to happen in this. And it didn't. So that was nice.
Yeah. In the opening, a couple of things that I noticed was, so when, last episode we got the fallout, the Clark not being, Superman not being in Metropolis, flying around, being noticed. So when I saw that in the beginning, I thought, uptick in Superman activity, he's trying to be out there and be seen a little more, because of what happened. And then, how excited he was for everything at the Harvest Fest, the giving and the helping of other people and then the chocolate covered bacon. He was really excited about that. So Tyler did a great job, just like being this giddy guy, just remembering, just loving the stuff from when he was younger in Smallville, and that it was fantastic.
His just, I don't want to say excitement, like his incitement, enthusiasm just made it.
Right. And then the uptick also, like I thought about the last episode, but then also they're like, oh, so that's why you're the Harvest Festival. That's why you're doing so much as Superman, so you can have a short time, to enjoy the Harvest Fest.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
Yep. It was cool that, Lois says, your dad's not just Superman because of his powers. It's the lessons that he learned from his parents and here on the farm. So I like that. We found out that Smallville was established in 1940, which I thought was weird. Why not just make Smallville established 1938?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously? Like, 2 years, you couldn't just put that in there just as a wink reference?
When did Smallville actually become a place? Because it'd be interesting if 1940 was when Smallville actually was created for Superman. That would be interesting.
It probably is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it probably is. I just was like, most people aren't going to know that, but you say the 1938 and they'll be like,
yeah.
Superman! And then you're like, da-da-da. So, it just was one of those, like, you could have blown people's minds. But it's all good. We find out that Eliza is coming down to see Jonathan, girlfriend. And I thought this was interesting as a duality between the twins. Sarah asked Jordan on a date to the Harvest Fest. And as soon as she does that, Eliza calls Jonathan and breaks up with him.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sorry to stall that for one moment. 1949 was the first time Smallville was ever named Superboy Volume 1.
See, Superboy did more for Superman comics than people realized. And a lot of that was written by Jerry Siegel, but his name wasn't on it because DC Comics would not allow him to put his name on it. And that's a whole other history that we've touched on before. But just
John got the like I say, he's been getting the short end of the stick, and it really everything in his life has now pretty much fallen apart by this episode. Now that his girlfriend broke up with him.
So with this episode, do you want to go beat by beat, or do you want to kind of go character by like through the characters?
I think we go beat by beat this time.
Yeah, I do too. I think this episode works better that way.
I think so as well. I think last episode was really good doing it, how we did it, characters and plot points and how it went. I think beat by beat will work best this time.
So we also learned that, Lois gets a phone call that Derek Powell is back. He's sitting there in the office at the paper, and his mom is buying into it that, he hit his head and was in the hospital and was unconscious. And, Morgan Edge is all good. Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, which the editor of the Smallville Gazette, I forget her first name. But
so
she
do
was,
I. Is it Chrissy?
Beppo. Christy?
Yes.
But she was, Beppo?
Yeah.
Beppo. Yeah, she was not happy about that. She said, was it Morgan Edge sent somebody to kill you, and now everything's okay?
He can't remember or forget or nothing, He's like, oh, I'm good. And it's just like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah, they're not having it though. They're like those answers that story sound very rehearsed.
Mm-hmm. Rehearsed, scripted, however you want to say it, it sounds false. And believe me, I know what false sounds like because Lois Lane deals with it all the time. So our next thing is we get Clark rummaging through stuff, and we get a flashback. And it's young Clark on the farm it's a year after Jonathan dies, and he's trying on a shirt, and he has it's like a bowling looking shirt, right? He's trying on, and Jania just looks at me and looks at the kids, because if the kids are good, well, we let them stay up and watch this with us. Usually they'd be in bed. But on Tuesday night, especially this Tuesday, because they gave a special trailer for Kong and Godzilla with Superman and Lois. And Solomon's worshiping and in love with Kong and Godzilla. And so Jania looks at the kids and like, your dad used to wear shirts like that. And I'm like, yes, I did, kids. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I will find you pictures. Like, I have all kinds of bowling-esque shirts, lounge shirts, and everything. And what's funny is he goes, I guess I'll just stick to flannel. That's what he says. And I laugh because I'm like, I used to wear a lot of flannel. And then, I kind of did these bowling lounge-esque. If you remember the band Lit, I really loved their, style. So, I wore a lot of clothes that were similar to them when I was, in high school and stuff. And
okay.
I have to find pictures. They're hilarious, but I still look awesome. I don't care. But then, I just kind of, went back to just wearing, flannel. So when he's like, I guess I'll just stick to flannel, I'm just laughing, and Jania's laughing, and the kids are, laughing, but they don't know why they're laughing. They're just like, that's okay. But, Clark hears people stealing, and I thought it was very interesting. He does something Tom Welling never thought about doing. He runs into the alley, and he has, a ski mask on. And he tells the people to put the stuff, take it off the truck, and return it. And then the guy pulls a gun, and Clark moves around, takes the gun, breaks it in half. And they're like, okay, we'll put it back. Put it all back. But did you catch the line where Ma says, is Lana still dating that Cushing boy?
Yes.
And I was like, dang, Lana, you've been with this bro for how long?
Yep, she's been with her high school sweetheart. I think there was a short time when she left because she said she came back to Smallville to help people.
Yeah.
So
I think we're going to explore some of Lana's life and what she did and where she maybe went and tried to do and what brought her back. But I thought that was really interesting. And then we find out, so we're at the Harvest Fest where they're collecting donations. And there's a bunch of men's clothes that's donated by the Powells. And Derek walks into a room and makes a phone call. And he starts getting a headache and has an ocular blast. And sets the place on fire. And Clark comes flying and uses his freeze breath, to help put out the fire. And I thought it was kind of neat because he's not Superman, he's Clark. He zips in there, he uses his breath, and Kyle is trying to save somebody. And then he's like, Frost? What is this?
Yeah, his one of the firefighters got trapped inside, and Kyle goes in to save him, and on their way out, they almost die because the rafters are caving in, and it's falling down on top of them, and Clark uses his breath and blows it away, and he puts out the fire and also kind of blows that over from falling on them. And yeah, Kyle notices after it's all said and done that there's frost on these rafters that are on the ground.
And then we get our first mention shortly after of Lex Luthor. Lois goes down there to ask questions and asks about Derek because Clark says he thought he saw him leaving. And we meet August, a reporter who is actually Captain Luther in disguise, talking to Lois about he thinks he has something on Morgan Edge. He's going to break this story open, and they kind of have their moment. And then Lois returns home for the boys to come home, and Jonathan flips out about this town being his kryptonite and how he wants to go to Metropolis and stay with friends.
The Kelsos.
Right. And all I could think about was
Michael Kelso.
And his brother, Casey Kelso. So
yeah.
Luke Wilson and Ashton Kutcher. Like,
right.
That's what I was thinking of. I'm like,
yep. That's why I was like, no, you cannot go stay at Kelso's. Like, nobody wants to go stay at the Kelso's. Like, that's a dangerous place to live.
burn.
Burn. Absolutely.
Yeah, they call me Mike now from a police officer with my mustache.
A mustache.
And then, so Lois gets a call, but I'll go there in a second. What I really like is when Clark's connection with Jordan. When he's like, he's got a date. He's like, really? Yeah. Like that excitement for his son. And, I think so far he's doing a good job, especially in this episode of like the balancing act of trying not to show the favoritism over one child to the other. You and I both have a boy and a girl. And sometimes, like that, it can go where you feel like maybe you're favoring one child over the other or something.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I feel like I favor Salo sometimes more just because she's my little girl, but like she's younger and she clings to me a lot. Like,
yeah. I understand that feeling. Like, my kids were really close together, so they were they were the same pretty much, so when they both started to detach at the hip, detach from the hip at the same time.
How many years are between them?
1.
Okay, I thought so. I was like, my kids are only 2 years apart. I was like, aren't yours 1 year?
Yeah. Yeah, 370 days.
Wow, you got that down to some math.
Yeah.
Math. I'm giving you math.
You're giving me math.
Yes, I was like, I hope he gets this. I hope he gets this. He's good at stuff too, numbers and stuff. Give me math.
Yep. Chandler Bing.
But no, like I think
I lost
Clark,
my train of thought.
I think Clark does a great job. Like you're talking about your kids and like my kids. It's like the balancing act. Because we're kind of going beat by beat, but his interaction with Jonathan later, I actually really liked it.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job of being a father, of like, he's like the ultimate. He's like one of the ultimate outsiders, So, like, he has more in common with both of his kids than either of them realize or want to realize. Which doesn't give them a pass, but yeah, he's doing a really good job as a father, and it's nice to see him reaching the boys at different times. And I love the way that he. The last thing I'm gonna say real quick. I love the way that he gets to be Clark. He just gets to be giddy when he wants to be. You know what
hopeful,
I mean?
Enthusiastic.
Like, he's serious. He's a father. He's hopeful, and he's enthusiastic. And he just sometimes seems like that small town farm boy, and that's awesome. Like, he gets to be Clark Kent the whole time, and it's really awesome to see.
He does that, like, he tries to tell us something, I know what you're going through, there was a time in my life, like, they cut him off, like, and don't let him talk. And we get another flashback shortly after that beat where he's talking to his mom. He does the line like, I was sent here for a reason, and it wasn't to be Martha Kent's son. And I don't want to skip ahead too much, but basically, what the heck? We find out that Clark left. And the way he words it, I'm thinking it was around maybe 16. Like it felt young, maybe 18. He says a couple years older than you guys. They're 14, so that'd be like 16, 17.
I assume, that's what I was kind of assuming, 16, 17.
And I'm wondering if that's when he did his Fortress of Solitude type stuff journey, because we see Martha come to him and give him
a sunstone.
Yeah, and it's looks just like the one that Jordan grabbed or took or whatever in the pilot that still hasn't been acknowledged. So in this, it's like a red sunstone instead of being like a green crystal. That's what I'm thinking. And we learn, Clark says that he left, and that was time that he lost with his mom that he could never get back. And it's powerful.
And that his mother sacrificed their time for who he was going to become.
And we get we get a cutaway of Kyle coming in, and Sarah's, and Lana and Sophie, the child that I bet soon will be forgotten exists. And Kyle's drunk, and he's saying, let me change and get a sandwich and we'll all leave together. And Sarah basically tells her mom to go. And we see, Kyle drunk, moving around. Sarah makes him some food, and it's intercut with Jordan and Jonathan are there looking for her at the fest. And then we see Lana at the fest, and she runs into the guy from Smallville.
Cobb.
Yep.
Is what she called him.
Who was, one of the Ross brothers in Smallville. And
I think so, yeah.
She makes a comment.
Cobb's cream corn.
She makes a comment about Kyle at home being like this good hero, good man, trying to once again project at what she wants her family to be. But we know that Kyle's actually drunk at home.
Yeah.
And he tries like singing like this. It's kind of an interesting scene where he's like to Sarah, like, remember that song I used to sing to you? And he tries to sing it, and it's like just kind of an odd, weird, but it worked scene or whatever, And Sarah leaves.
Well, it feeds into the reason why Jordan's night gets ruined.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the boys are there, and Jonathan partners up with two other dudes. I think were football players.
Yeah, the one guy is the quarterback, and the other guy is the receiver that Tag was fighting with in the other episode.
So douche 1 and douche 2.
Yes.
And they pull out a flask, and Jonathan starts drinking. First, I think it's interesting to point out that alcohol does affect Jonathan. Okay, so that.
Right.
And Jordan's like, no, and Jordan, walks away. Jordan meets up with Sarah, they're having a good time, and then Jonathan comes rolling back around, and he's drunk, and it really upsets Sarah a lot because of what happened to her and with her father. And Jonathan's like ratting, like, guys, this is Jordan's first date, his first date ever. And he's like, railing on him. And Sarah ends up leaving. And then Jonathan's trying to apologize. And I'm glad that it wasn't like Jordan didn't just like jump up and like punch his brother in the face. Part of me would be like,
he was trying to defend. Yeah, he was trying to defend his brother to Sarah. He's had a rough day.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a rough time since he came to Smallville. So, I mean, he was trying to defend his brother in that case. Did you? So I expanded and I follow some of the other people from the show on Twitter, and Jordan, the guy who plays Jonathan, he had a little video of one of the assistants or whatever smacking his cheeks to make him red, so he looked, so his cheeks were red and flush when he was supposed to be playing drunk.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. So we have this going on. This is going on, and then they're walking. We get a nice scene of Clark and Lois talking and eating, and then I got sad for a moment watching this because I was like, in Circleville, where I live, we worship the Great Pumpkin, which, if you want to tie it in, the guy who plays Jordan voiced Linus in the Peanuts movie that came out a few years ago. Fucking heck.
Oh, interesting.
And, we have the pumpkin show. We didn't have it this past year because of COVID. And I always love pumpkin show just for the idea of everyone out, the carnival, the fall weather, the food, pumpkin pie. It's always been exciting. So I'm sitting there watching this and I'm just like, man, I miss that. I miss. And Janine even goes, it's so weird to see people in these shows that are new in groups not wearing masks. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. But at the same time, it's not. At the same time, I don't know. But I was like,
well, the protocols that they have to go through. I mean, they go through, if they're going to be in close proximity up there, for these shows and stuff, all those actors, all those extras, they get tested on a regular basis, as well as rapid tests, on a daily basis whenever they're going to be on set with people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the COVID protocols are pretty strict when it comes to these people being in proximity and not wearing masks and things like that.
It's just, I miss
until we get what they're calling the herd immunity developed, where a larger majority of people are largely immune to the virus.
Yeah.
That it's kind of run its course and kind of goes in and out like the flu.
Yay.
Yeah, that's what they're looking for.
Clark.
That's what I thought though. Cows is when I heard herd immunity. Yeah.
So Clark can he says there's Jonathan and he's been drinking, and Lois like, you've been drinking? They're like, what? Like, your dad can smell it. And then they're like, oh.
And she said the whole town can smell it. She said I can smell it. The whole town can smell it. But yeah,
I always like
Clark can see and smell you drunk from across the streets and full of people.
I always just chuckle when they try to use hip stuff call a ride share, get an Uber. Nobody gets a taxi. I feel bad for taxi companies, No one's like, I'm gonna call you a cab or get you a cab. It's call a ride share, call an Uber, or take don't use public transportation. Don't take the bus or anything, or walk home.
Right.
And they're like, we're going. And then this is when Lois gets a call from Chrissy, and she saw Derek, and we get the full name of Leslie Lar, double L's, making out at the mines.
Yeah, that was the new original double L character we heard was coming.
And I put that in my notes and double highlighted it because Leslie Lar. And this is where I felt I blinked and I missed something in this part the first time I watched it because I did something with Sayla. Clark zooms off and then shows up as Superman. So we're at the end of the episode when Superman shows up. And like I said, I'm fine with that, in this episode. I like the more Clark-centered episode. And Basically, what I took is they have a machine that is bringing Kryptonians to life inside the bodies of humans, but trying to force Kryptonian powers on them. Is that what you're getting? Is that...
Something like that, yeah.
Because he had the dual voices, like Derek's talking like at two voices at a time. He says, "I'm back."
And he said, "You're not." Yeah, I'm back, and you're not alone anymore, Kal-El.
And like I said, it kind of reminds me of season 9 of Smallville. And I don't want to keep saying that, but because then he says to Leslie, like, protect this, and he flies out the roof. And then Clark goes after him. He called
it the asset. I'm not sure if he meant the machine, or I think he meant the little thing that was on the side of the machine that might be powering the machine that Edge found in that meteor shower.
Right. Exactly. So they fly off, and they're like fighting in corn. And there's something awesome about Superman just like flying through corn, punching somebody, and fighting with them.
Right. Which was really cool earlier when he flew through that one strip of corn and picked up a whole bunch.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just kind of fun, neat that, he's flying through corn and they're fighting. And then we get Captain Luthor showing up. And this is the part, that bothers me is I understand, on his world, Kal-El went bad. But, how ignorant of a person are you? You're supposed to be super smart and you're an African-American man who's Luthor. On this planet, that's not the same.
Yeah, he obviously knows that Lex Luthor is a different person on this earth.
So I'm just kind of to assume that this Kal is going to go bad because the one on your planet did, it just, to me, just feels very ignorant of this type of a character.
Yeah, he's very blinded by his hatred, more than typical Luthor is. And
then you kind of bring that into, and like I said, if they play this out, did you watch The Flash this week?
No.
Oh, man, you're killing me.
I'm sorry.
This is it's not going to be that much of a spoiler, but The Flash's episode this past week is a fallout event from Crisis. Okay? If Luthor's story pulls out to be something more along the lines of that, where it would have made more sense to me than kind of this, on my planet, on my Earth, he was bad, and I'm here, and he must be bad too.
Yeah. I mean, I did see that Abra is there because his family disappeared because of Crisis, and he was having these memories of another life that he never had.
And basically he tries to blame the Flash as if it was the Flash's fault for the Crisis, and Flash is, of course, doing his thing, talking and being the heart of hope, and the heart of love, and everything about, Crisis was something bigger and different, because even going back in time, Abra tried to go back in time to and before that, but there is nothing before that, because Crisis changed everything. So you can't travel into the past of the universe that no longer exists. Anyways, it just, Captain Luthor is all, gotta destroy this Kal-El. He pulls out this rocket out of his, it looks kind of like a red solar energy rocket or something. He shoots it at Superman and Derek Powell, knocks them both down, and then, Powell stands up and basically explodes.
Yeah.
And then we get the next day, and this is the scene that I like. Clark and Jonathan are talking and kind of confront about what happened, and he goes to him, "This is your one get out of jail free card." And this is where Clark got to actually explain on how he left and what happened. And I looked at Jenny and I said, I like this because I would do something like this. I would try to put myself in my child's place. I would be upset if they were drinking because that's illegal and that's dangerous and all that. But as far as like their attitude and everything, they know that what they've done is wrong. Trying to give them a little slack for the situation that they're in and been put in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was brought up being expected to do those types of things. When you become a teenager and you're hanging out with friends and stuff, you're going to smoke, you're going to drink, but understanding consequences, responsibility if you do that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like it was the end of the world if it happened, but also obviously parents get upset, but they're not surprised. And the ones who get really upset are hypocrites, or they were sheltered.
Solomon goes to me, he goes, Dad, when I'm grown up and older, can I drink? Or how do you say it? He said, or when I'm a teenager, I'm like, buddy, when it comes time, we'll talk.
Right.
Because like my dad always told my brother and I was funny. He's like, you guys ever want to try alcohol? Try drinking. You tell me. I'll go buy it. We'll sit right here and we'll drink it together. And he said that from like when my brother and I were like preteens and and everything. Well, my brother actually took him up on it, and my dad was like, it was funny because Zach's like, yeah, let's do it, Dad. When he was a teenager, my dad's like, son, you're a good boy. Why do you want to do that? And I'm just kind of like chuckle like, that is like exactly the opposite of what you told us our whole life.
That's funny.
I'm like,
I mean, when I was growing up, I remember, 7th, 8th grade, 11, 12 years old or whatever, I had a beer, or drank some beer at a family event, but nothing significant. It's not like I got drunk or anything.
James was like, you were like the scene in Vacation. Like, Russ, my dad shared a beer with me.
Right.
But then we get a scene of, they dedicate a bench to Martha in Martha's name there. And Clark and Lois sit down on it. Clark has his last flashback of him leaving Martha. And the one thing that I wish had been in that scene where we have the Martha kind of crying as he leaves, and we see Clark walking away, is I wish he would have stopped and just held the camera at the same angle. But we saw him kind of stop and turn his head sideways as if he's hearing her with his super hearing, and then he keeps walking. Like, the exact same shot and angle that they did it, but just we had him do that in the background. Like, I think that could have been really neat. And then we have Captain Luther. We find out that, his computer's talking to him, and I almost wanted to call it Skeets, about reminding him that this Lois is yet identical looking and everything to his Lois. It's not his Lois. And we find out that he was married to Lois on his Earth.
Yeah, on his Earth, he was an Army Ranger. He's a decorated soldier, a war hero, probably. He's married to Lois Lane, who is identical, is played by the same woman, by Bitsy, and he says that she's exactly the same down to every detail except for who she married.
And then the final scene, which is Jordan walking, and he gets attacked by Tag, and Tag's just punching him. Like, what'd you do to me? What'd you do to me? What'd you do to me? And then fade to black credits. And now we wait a month.
Yeah.
So good night, everybody.
Right. See you in 2 months.
And we'll be back with... Big Jim. Sorry, long pause. But yeah, I mean, I liked this episode. It was cool. It does bum me out that we're going to have to wait. That they're kind of killing the motion of this series like that. But we'll see.
You know, you wonder if the CW doesn't kill momentum to temper expectations.
I mean,
maybe, right?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But I'm just kind of like, really? Like, why would you do that? Like, you have a show and you're just going to do that. But all right, I'm going to wrap this sucker up. It's late. I got to get some sleep because you know what happens in the morning, James? My kids wake up.
Children wake up early.
You know what else happens? My wife looks at me with those big, beautiful eyes and like, baby, can I sleep in just a little bit? I got to get up for work. And I'm like, sure. Even though she kept me up the night, she wanted to talk, and my kids wake me up early, and I'm just look like I'm death rolled over because I haven't slept. Everybody wonders why Dad's always cranky.
I got 4 hours of sleep in the last 3 days.
Pretty much. That's pretty much like, why are you so upset, Tyler? What do you think?
My nerves are fried because I get like 2.5 hours worth of sleep.
Good times. So, everybody have a good night. Thank you for listening to the Krypton Report. I am Tyler, and with me as always is James, the Man of Steel. And remember,
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look in the sky.